Neil Cavuto, well, that was fast. The day after the debate, now it is the president who's on defense. Critics who say he has lost his fight, and his own supporters who fear he keeps this up, he's lost this election. 90 minutes of merciless pounding at the hands of an otherwise very amiable Mormon will do that. So hear this. Game not over. Obama re-election not done. And Mitt Romney not toast. Weeks to go. Game on. And a Wall Street that had dismissed his chances now saying, well, that's off. Good for the challenger. Not so good for a president, many argued, looked more like a chump after the debate. Now suddenly no debate. The president ain't what he was in those last debates.
There are people out there who are working every day, who are not getting a tax cut, and you want to give them more. It's not like you want to close the loopholes. You just want to add an additional tax cut over the loopholes, and that's a problem.
That was then. 4 years later, clearly not as energized now.
Let's talk about taxes because I think it's instructive. Now, 4 years ago when I stood on this stage, I said that I would cut taxes for middle-class families.
Roll call. Shira Toeplitz says that the president is losing steam on stage could hurt his already fragile base. This was a base, if you think about it, Shira, that I just already arranged its inaugural invites, right? And what happens now?
Well, I talked to a couple liberal voters last night after the debate, and they said they were really disappointed in the president because there were opportunities, or at least they believed there were opportunities, for the president to be aggressive and shoot back, and he just didn't take advantage of those opportunities. So as a result of this debate, as you mentioned earlier, the race has changed a little bit. We'll see. There's still 3 more debates left, 2 between the president and 1 between the vice presidents. So there's still a lot of time to go. But right now, not only are undecided voters probably a little more confused about which way they're going after last night's debate, but also the president on the left has some people very angry with him.
And I had sort of a different spin on this, seeing as I was in the spin room yesterday when all the guys were spinning. I think the president's support might be built on a hill of sand here. Not all of it, but a good chunk of it. A number of people who are voting with their fingers over their nose because they just think the alternative is worse, or depending on the press he's gotten, even evil. And then they see it in your face, otherwise fairly amiable, if not direct, Mitt Romney. And I'm not comparing it necessarily to 1980 and Ronald Reagan being an appealing alternative to Jimmy Carter, but not a bad alternative. And I think that could eat into the president's support, and more than just the undecided voters' support. What do you think?
Not necessarily, right? Because what voters do often, and we see this in a lot of polling data, is they complain and they gripe, especially while their guy is down in the polls. But when it comes down to it on election day, they usually hold their nose, they suck it up, and they vote for their party leader, all right? That's why there are, that's why we have undecided voters are so interesting right now. Usually if you're a member of a party at this point, by election day, you are going to vote for the guy.
All right, I know you do this in far more exhaustive detail than I do, but I am old. And I do remember 1980, and I do remember the few undecided voters at the time who were deemed to jump to either Ronald Reagan or Jimmy Carter. Turns out a lot more than those few undecided voters did. I'm not saying that there isn't some truth to what you're saying, that most aligned to a party stick with that party. But those who are leery of that party or the candidate of that party could jump if they are disenchanted enough with their own choice or intrigued enough by the other to jump. And enter Mitt Romney in that performance last night. At the very least, do you think it has stopped the free fall that was happening in some swing states, although I think that was overstated by the press, and given people a chance to reassess?
It has. It has stopped this free fall. I can't overstate how bad things were in Boston these last couple weeks. They were very frustrated. This morning, Romney's advisors are elated. They really feel like this got them back on track. But a word of caution. We're going to see a lot of polling in the next few days, yes. Neil. A lot of it's going to be all over the place. Wait until Monday. It gives voters a couple days to really digest what happens, what they've seen, really think about it, and then also for the pollsters to call them. So wait until Monday. And that's when we'll really see how much of an impact this one debate will have on the next couple weeks.
And see where that money goes, something we're going to explore a little bit later to each, and maybe both.